Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. For this video, I want to do a quick overview of Q&A questions, questions that have been asked in my DMs, on Twitter, on Instagram, and also personally. So I thought to just bring these questions together and have a quick chat about them, and hopefully you too would find some use out of it. So obviously we'll be talking about masters and studying in the UK in general, so everything is going to be in that context. So one of the main questions that I got is the course start date. So the course start date for UK programs in general, in most cases, obviously there might be difference in terms of universities, but in most cases courses start in September and also in January, but majority of the courses do start in September. And so we do have most of our intakes in September, but then we also have January intake for some courses as well. So my advice would be check your university or the university you're interested in, check their start dates, and figure out which would be better for you if you have an option of either January or September or January start date. So that one there. The next one is the placement. Now, placement options are available for some master's program, not all of them. So what would be ideal is you have a look at the program you're interested in, the courses and the universities, and check if they do have placement option. Reason I'm saying this is I've actually had a student who applied for a master's program, and after getting way into the process, realized there is a placement option attached to that program, and it is of value that you do have, if you have it, to go for the ones with placement option. One, it gives you longer stay in the country, and then two, it also gives you opportunity to assess work experience as part of your study. So it's quite useful that you do use that option if available. The next thing, money wise, and also just to mention that you do get paid for placement option if you're lucky enough, or if you're able to secure one. So the only thing is that the placement option courses would cost a little bit more than the options without placement, but it does pay when you secure a placement option. The next one I want to talk about is the accommodation. Now, accommodation is a huge deal in the UK, right? So you come in and you realize it's quite expensive, especially if you're coming from, for example, when I came from Nigeria, my accommodation is like what you would pay for a flat in a year, and I had to pay for it in a month. Yeah, in Bournemouth then. So you can imagine it can cost a whole lot for accommodation. So it's really good to have a plan of where you would go as you're thinking about your study, the course. You can also think about the location of the university and what the accommodation cost is. Now, in general, there are perks to staying in university accommodation, and there are also perks to stay off university accommodation. The university accommodations, they do have security. They are more secured, and they do have they are usually closer to the university itself, and they are also student friendly. So that would be a perk, or that would be the perks among other things for staying in the university accommodation. But when you are thinking about finance and cost saving, staying outside university accommodation might be a better option, where you have private landlords and you just rent a room or rent a flat with a group of friends, and then have different rooms to yourselves. So that will be something of that is more cheaper, and it will save a bit more cost. Now, depending on the accommodation, the location and the accommodation type, if it's en suite or if it's shared bathroom and toilet and kitchen, or if it's a studio. There are different prices for those. But in general, I would say, give or take, on the average for a room, if you can budget like maybe £100 per week, I think you should be able to get reasonable accommodation around that price range. So 100 to 120 per week. It might be cheaper. Please don't quote me on this. It might be cheaper, and it might also be a bit more than that price. Also, if you're thinking about university accommodation, you could also check university website, and they already have their own accommodation stamped out. If you want me to talk a bit more about accommodation and how to secure some of them, especially the really good places to look out for, where you can maybe access accommodation and how to go about that, I can talk about that in a separate video. So the next question is about cheap locations in the UK. I can't in particular tell you this place is cheaper than that place because there are different and so many factors that comes into play and would determine or would influence where you would actually go to study. But one thing is, in general, London is a bit more expensive than places outside London. Even the maintenance fee from the Home Office, you will notice that there is more, about £1,000 more for people that are studying in London. So London is a tad bit expensive, just putting it lightly. When I moved from Bournemouth to London, oh my God, I almost ran back. If I had a choice, I probably would. But anyway, so right now, staying in London can be a bit more expensive, mainly because of accommodation. So if you have somewhere to stay, someone to stay with, that's one good thing. Not most, but many international students do have, family, aunts, cousins, uncles, and the rest of that might be willing to accommodate them. So if you have that, please take it. Well, if you need it anyway, it's just about saving some coin. Aside from that, you do have places outside London that are quite cheaper when it comes to accommodation and transport as well. So depending on the location of your university, I would say stay outside London. But if you have to come to London, you have to come to London. Oh, and one good perk with London is that you do have more opportunities because there are more companies, there are more organizations, and just more everything in London, and more people as well, and more cars and more vehicles and more everything. So if you like the and there's also more social and entertainment lifestyle, those kind of, like, you can go out, you have places to go everywhere, there's always a show bubbling. COVID, keep in mind, because of COVID, is a bit quieter, but normally you do have so many things going on in London, so that's a perk. Yeah. The next question I have is about the tuberculosis test. So someone sent me a message about the tuberculosis test, and they are quite concerned that they haven't secured their admission yet, but they are thinking of paying and booking appointment for the tuberculosis test. Now, for example, in Nigeria, which is where most of my base are, I know so many students are struggling with the tuberculosis test appointment. It seems like the whole thing is crazy. They have a whole lot of candidates and people are waiting in line, and I'm not sure if it's true, but I heard it's gone all the way to like August of next year. If that's true, that's just crazy. Now the question is, should they pay and try to get an appointment before they secure their admission? My advice is no. The reason why I said that is you don't know what the admission will be until you secure an admission. I don't think it, because it's a lot of money, almost 50,000 or 60,000 naira. I'm not entirely sure the exchange rate right now, but it's a lot of money to gamble. But if you're that concerned about the test, I would say go ahead. If it would secure your space, why not? But one thing is, even if you're not going to pay, so my advice would be to try and start your processing as soon as possible. So people that are interested in January start date, we have started application and processing, hopefully submitting applications so that they can have their admissions as soon as possible, and then go on to the other processes after that. So the TB test, I would suggest try and put in your application early enough, and then hopefully you still have time to then book for the test. But I wouldn't necessarily encourage you pay and for the test if you have not secured admission. I know of people that have applied and they have been declined for certain reasons. So they've been declined admission. So if that happens, then your TB test payment is gone. So just depending on how you are financially, but my general advice would be save some coin, secure your admission first and then go on to get your TB test appointment. Hopefully, so fingers crossed you do get an appointment day. But one thing that I've also heard is I know someone that actually booked the appointment and then the person actually did this in like a week. It was quite, I guess it's miraculous. What can I say? So the person did, and then we were trying to book the appointment and it was so difficult. The dates just wouldn't come up. So, but I just said, why not go to the center? Go to the center, try and explain to them. And this person came all the way from somewhere in the north to Lagos. So I said, try and explain to them, like, this is your situation, you have to get back. And hopefully, who knows, maybe they will be nice enough to, someone might not turn up or something. And that's what happened. The person went, explained, and it wasn't easy, don't get me wrong, but eventually they did accommodate him and he was able to do his test. So I've also heard that that's something that some people have sort of like tried to do or to use to get their test done. So maybe, and also Lagos is probably more populated, so if you're around the north, there's no need going all the way to Lagos. Maybe try and go to Abuja Center and see if you can access that from there.